He rode over the Rocky Mountains, the Cascade Mountains, and ended up on the Pacific. The Pacific was just a dream for me. I turned the car in, got a good outfit to go to Alaska, bought 2 steerage tickets for Seward, Alaska, got on the boat, and on the way up, I bought a gun, a .30-30 Remington, the wrong gun for Alaska, but it was okay. And I still remember fondling it and cleaning it in the steerage hole. Little did I know that less than a year later it would have 50,000 caribou within its sights. But that's another story. I can't tell them all. Anyway, we ended up in Seward, Alaska, and there we found that the boxcars were all sealed tight because they didn't want you getting on them and freezing to death going through the mountains. That was the only railroad into the center of Alaska. We knew we couldn't get in that way because I wanted to go to Fairbanks where the mining was centered. So we stowed away on the old Aleutian and got back to Valdez where they kicked us off. It's where we wanted to go anyway. At that time, there was one road into the center of Alaska. So almost 400 miles long, a dirt road, or gravel road, going through the mountains, very dangerous road. When we came to Fairbanks, instead of finding bridges there were red lines there also. The depression hit that, and the miners were out on strike anyway. So what we did then was to wander around. We finally ended up going out to the University of Alaska. Saw a man digging a ditch or digging a cesspool, I don't know which. And we talked to him and asked him if there were any jobs, and he said, no, not here. He said, he asked us a lot of questions. I thought it peculiar because I thought he'd get fired by the foreman for leaning on his shovel. But eventually he said, you boys look like you could have a good square meal. We were sure we could do that. Go to that bungalow over there at 5 o'clock and we'll get something to eat. So we went over, knocked on the door, and the lady invited us in. The name was Eunice Carlson, I can still remember. The supper smelled great. Pretty soon